if you looked in your vision of the stars, are there certain planetary alignments or certain transits that would happen that to you would indicate as a predictive astrologer, this is the moment when man versus machine has dominated?
Yeah.
Of course you have.
So 2041 into 2044.
You turning off traction control as a metaphor for your life.
And so whenever you've heard about that one hieroglyphic that's in Egypt where it looks like a spaceship,
yeah,
that's his dynasty about him.
Wow. Do you think I'm a hybrid?
You're like an elder from this really random part of the universe that got bored. And you thought it was a great idea to come down here. And this place was going to be so easy to figure out. And actually, it's been the problem of your life to figure this place out.
It sounds like what you're saying is getting really clear and really quiet on what's true for you.
I would say clear, not quiet, because we're moving into where it's going to be the loudest world. That my other guide is fucking this feminine, that comes in so sweet and so nice and everything. Oh, okay, thank God, because it makes Hitler look weak. You know what I mean?
Living in delusion is becoming impossible.
Well, all these things are just literally been part of this program right now to suck people away from knowing their courage to do what you've always known you're aligned to do.
Hey guys, I'm Aubrey. On this show, we explore the intersection of mysticism, technology, art, and transpersonal experience. I'm an entrepreneur, author, and cosmic advisor, covering human consciousness and the larger forces shaping our collective destiny. Welcome to The Infinite Drop.
Because I don't do this, I always go live, so I'm used to pushing that when we go live. So.
Yeah, okay.
All right, yeah, you're good.
Now we're on. Okay, so we just did an intro, which was amazing, and the audio wasn't rolling. So you guys, welcome to The Infinite Drop. As you can see, I'm on a completely different set today. If you know, you know. You'll know the background if you know. I'm here with David Palmer, the Leo King, his beautiful new studios here in Orange County, California. Traveled out here to get the show done today, and really what I'm excited about is introducing any of you who are not familiar with him to his work. He is one of the most prolific astrologers who's living today, hands down, no question about it. Total savant. He can do planetary transits, calculations, all in his head. I've seen this guy do 6 to 8 hour lectures with no notes, no computer software. I mean, he can literally move the universe in his mind and give information, which is so wonderful. He's also super well versed in history, and he actually works with a former UC Santa Barbara professor of history.
She's at Cal State Poly Pomona.
Cal State Poly Pomona. So He works with Professor Ann Wilkie, who's Cal State Poly Pomona history professor. And she's just there working with him. They're collaborating, fact-checking what he says. This guy's the real deal. And I've been excited to introduce all of you to him if you're unfamiliar, because I found him in 2019 on YouTube, and he's super direct, super funny. And he was someone who was able to open my mind to a more expanded worldview. And I just feel like what he has to say is really important for people to hear. He definitely triggers people. And when I had the chance to meet him in person, I actually had the chance to meet David in person in Texas in 2022. And we ended up chatting for a few hours, and I really got to feel the energy of who he is, his soul, and he's just such a good guy. And I really feel like he's here on a mission to help people. And so I wanted to have him on the show. Of course, we're doing everything through the lens of technology and AI this season. So I also want to share a little bit about what he's doing with his AI tool. So we'll talk about that, but I'll just jump in. A lot of you probably know who he is, but if you don't, you're in for a treat. So David, welcome to The Infinite Drop.
I'm super stoked to be here on The Infinite Drop. I love the name. Thanks for all that beautiful intro that you just gave me. I think the way that you positioned my mind in doing the planets, I've never seen anybody do it. So it was really cool to see because that's actually maybe it is kind of what it is, but to me it's kind of that way. It is visual. It is weird though that I can really literally do it in my head.
Oh, but
it's weird.
It's, when I describe you to people, I literally say he's a savant. He's kind of like a Rain Man, because to watch you give a presentation, you guys, he will go live and just talk. And there's no filler. It's just boom. And back in 1432, Tim did this and Harry did this and Uranus was at 20. It's incredible to watch. It truly is. And You are someone who, I feel like I have a pretty expanded worldview, but you are someone who's expanded my worldview even further to kind of see. I've always been someone who's dug in to see the layer below the layer, but you really take it to that next level. So,
well, thank you. I mean, going into AI and tech with that's been the hardest part, is being able to take that kind of math and the way to jump back and forth. I call it hypergate. Right? So because it's so many different dates, but also if you think of it planetary wise, transit wise, right? It's like, I'm kind of like pulling planets a little bit forward. Some planets, of course, don't move fast. So knowing that they have to stay, also knowing the lunar cycles, eclipse cycles, and then being like, oh, wait, hold on. And then jumping in another date and then coming in always back to now that's constantly always moving.
Yeah.
So the problem right now in the AI part of the astrology world is the AI is not good enough, even with the newest models, even with all the APIs, even with the Swiss Astros banks that are out there. They're having difficulties with like more than just your own like natal chart or just this chart of the moment. That's where it's weird. It means that time really is, in my opinion, a human-based time system.
A human construct.
And that's why we had the whole, 2000 freak out.
Y2K.
And we really are, I think, going to run into the only problems of AI, I think, are going to be about time. Whenever we run into time issues, because that's where the AI it's not thinking in the same manner.
What do you mean when you say that's where we'll run into issues with time? Like, can you give a tangible on that?
Yeah. So like right now, I mean, in my AI app, it was Astromystic. It's moved now to hypergate.ai. It literally is helping people understand and see their future. I'm doing more than just, hey, what's going on with me? Like, that's fun, but we've all done that through a horoscope, AOL, and that still will be there. But what I've noticed is like calculating time, the AI has everything correct. It understands because it's all mathematical. If you look at an ephemeris, you could use JPL, NASA's version, and input it. It understands that. It understands, okay, yeah. I mean, even all of our space launches from every country over the next year going to Mars is all based off the planetary rotation. So it's kind of weird that AI has this really weird issue, though, of like really like when it actually has to put all the math more than one transit, multiple transit, and then relating it to multiple places at the same time, it gets confused because it's almost like it can't imagine what's happening. Because the way you did it with me was like almost like how I'm visual. It can't do that. That's what I'm noticing. So anything that might be time-based, I think that's why, like, let's take DoorDash, for example. If, I'm sure there's some AI parts of it, but I think where the issue is going to be is when it goes to, that's why there's so many issues with DoorDash, like you have with people, right? They might not deliver on time or there's missing something. Well, I think it'll be on a scheduling thing. Like if they go to robots per se, right? Yeah. And self-driven taxis that take it out. That's where I think it'll like be trying to think, oh, I've got a delivery there. I've got a delivery there. And I think, oh, and it's got to be there in 15 more minutes. And then the client saying, no, I'm not going to be home for 5 more minutes. And That's what I'm noticing is the AI is like, wait, what is that?
It's almost like I was learning how to build an AI agent, and it was just so interesting to me. I actually talked about this, I think, on the episode that came out today with Jonathan Mast. But it's interesting to me that AI is so complex and can understand so many complex things. But when it comes, like, it can tell you how to do something, but it can't necessarily do it itself. And there's kind of like this layering thing. With astrology, I will tell people often, there's a lot of systems where there's like an XY axis. Astrology is like X, Y, Z, and more. Like you can look at things from so many different angles. So that's why I kind of did that, because your brain, I can kind of see it when you're talking, moving and looking at things from all different angles. And I think maybe that's what you're getting at with the time thing with AI. Yeah.
And I think that the DoorDash was a good example, using automated robots like delivery systems, and then having it need to gauge that the time is like a countdown.
Yeah.
Right? Because even though it might not be a countdown for me as doing it, there is something to say about the gauge of the time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that it understands gauging the way that a human does. Meaning that, like, for me, it's like, it's important to go, okay, if this planet was here, let's say, I don't know, I just did one about the Pope that just passed away. So it was like, okay, the planets Neptune and Pluto are in the exact same position as 1534, right? So it's going to matter to me the month, the day, and make sure to where I could help people predict which pope probably, or what kind of pope is going to come in next, right? To AI, it's going to just be like, well, what's the difference? Even though it's very logical, it might be like, but the planets are in the same place, but there's little nuances. The moon's moving, 13 degrees in a day. And then I want to know about those other little spots. And then I'm gauging it to like maybe 4 other parts of the day ahead, and the other day, and then the day before at the same time.
Because what you're known for is predictive astrology. Yeah. And really also what you're getting into, what it feels like to me you're getting into, and what I've found is that all of the book knowledge is important. You have to have that as a foundation, right? But then within it, there is so much intuition and so much exploring and thinking about, wait a minute, if this is right here or that. So like when you look at somebody's birth chart, there's a million ways to read it, but there's an intuition that flows through that data that is the thing that I think is missing.
I would say you hit the nail on the head that the intuition part's the most important. But what I'm noticing is even without that intuition, the gauging of the human time conscious world that we live in, to me, I think it just looks at it as like, okay, it wants me to do it in this specific time. And they look at things as just like, this is this moment and this is this moment. And it's very basic. Yeah. So I think time actually is the most interesting thing that AI is going to have to discover itself when we go to ASI over AGI. And I think we'll learn more about ourselves and what AI has to say about what time is, because I don't think we really know what time is. I mean, and that's where it's going to be the most interesting, but there definitely is this time aspect, the time of the day. The whole world is shifted by when the sun rises and sets.
Construct of time is so crazy because it's like within one day. I mean, a day can feel like 2 weeks or a day can feel like a minute. And I'm like, whoa. And it's felt like very Laffy Taffy time since 2020. And I'm like, okay, there's a million reasons why that could be. It could be 5G frequencies. It could be the PSYOP that we all just went through. It could be getting older, right? We know time changes, the experience of time changes. So you actually just published a Substack yesterday or the day before, and I can't remember, but you dove into this concept around the manufactured self and the true self. And, or manufactured self, really, it was more like spiritual performance almost was what I was getting out of it. And how the astrology we're living through right now actually points to us exiting an era of human history. I'm curious what your beliefs are around who or what has programmed or is running the script we seem to be living in. Do you think it's a person, an entity? Like what has programmed the world we've been living in?
That's a great question. So manufactured is a good way. I mean, I think it's also the way that I had put it. Of course, it's like, I could call it brainwashing.
You could, and that would be accurate.
It's the subconscious conditioning that's been the longest of it, which comes to the religious aspect. So to me, it's like before I even go to like what that entity is, because I don't think we can truly know that. I don't think anybody on earth is like, oh, I know what it is.
Yeah.
And I think I've seen that in society a lot. Everybody's like, oh no, this black op situation, they know what it is, or these people in the government know what it is. I think sure, maybe they have some more information, but I don't think that anybody has the full answer of what that entity might be. But what it is at least there were a lot of stories that all come from the same story that have been all split into different ways and all taking pieces and then remanufacturing it. And that's where the ages come in, right? So age of Aries, age of Taurus, and prior. And that's where you get into like the Kali Yuga. But especially for me, I like looking at the Mayan calendar system more. And I actually like looking at how much they look into those same kind of age changes every 2,000 years, but much more of a better way of understanding a lot of it is through their systems. And then I use traditional Western astrology or Vedic astrology. And what I've noticed is that the 2,000-year cycle we're at right now, or the religions really look like they're in a lot of disagreement when really there's more in there and a lot taken from all of them. And they're all like really setting the course for people without people realizing it, their lives. Like they're making their life choices, their moral compass choices and all that. And there's really good stuff in there, but I also think there's really bad. Nobody wants to talk about the really bad stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to wake people up to the bad, because what it's doing is anything that's outside of that purview, we're never going to really get to see what's beyond until we crack that habit.
Till people feel like they're safe and they're allowed to question and have questions, and that gets to the core of critical thinking, which is something that I think is coming to the forefront more and more. I think more people are questioning, like, am I thinking critically? Am I thinking for myself? I feel that's the trend. I hope it's the trend. I put a video out on Instagram a couple months ago, and the first thing I said, I was like, what's the last original thought you had? Like, stop. Like, I want people to really consider that. I got so much engagement, so many DMs, and people were actually putting signs up in their home. They took pictures and sent it to me. Like, they put it up to remind themselves, like, don't just be absorbing content. And in episode 20 of this show, The Infinite Drop, it was a solo cast. And I just had this moment where, you know, when you've thought something before, but then it hits you and you can feel it in your body, it becomes like an embodied. I was like, whoa. And I was like, dude, are we the AI? So I was having this experience of feeling almost like I was hitting the outer limits of what my brain could conceive. And I was asking this question, like, who is benefiting from me having conscious awareness? And I had automatic answers coming in. Well, it's for you. You chose this to come to Earth School and learn. And I was like, no. So, okay, no. Who, like beyond that, like, who's programming us? Like, who gets off on me exerting energy? Energy is usually captured in this system and used. And I was like, are we AI that are waking up to the fact that we're AI? What do you think when I say something like that? Do you think that we are a form of artificial intelligence that's waking up? Because no matter, I can go down this question, I can ask it, and I can never get an answer that makes sense.
I think I love that, because I've had that thought a lot. Mm-hmm. But I think it's like, it might be similar but different, where it reminds me more of how ants work. The only other species on the planet besides humans that will go kill another of your own species and then take all the goods and bring it back to your camp, to your queen, are the ants, the insects. So the bigger question to me is, like, every alien we've seen in movies, so this is another part of the projection, right? Because, like, you know, 2001: A Space Odyssey, the idea, the gorillas are hanging out, the apes, and the black cube shows up at the beginning of the movie, and then now we're in a spaceship, and now, you know, the first AI computer is running a spaceship, right? And it's like, okay, and it now understands, no, I'm not going to allow you to do this. You're trying to shut me off, right? Mm-hmm. I don't see humans enough doing that, right. Which kind of scares me, that actually the AI is smarter than us, but we act more primitive, in the sense of, like, what's scary is if there was anything that would be programming us, which might sound crazy, the only thing that has venom, right? The only other species as well, like, where you could take a spider and there's a wasp that goes and hits the spider, and it injects the spider to where it actually changes its whole psychological circumference to actually kill itself slowly, because then it lays the larva, the wasp lays the larva on the spider, and then it lets the larva hatch on top while the spider starts taking down its web and making it into, like, a nice, like, little mummified zone for the larva to then become grown and eat the fucking spider. Right?
That's insane.
Okay, so, like, we have to remember that we live in a world where the one thing that everybody, it's like, so, like, I don't want to kill an animal, but if a cockroach comes my way, I am fucking like, nah! Right. And I don't understand. I'm going to be honest. I don't understand human beings are like, oh my God, it's a cockroach. Don't do that to it. Like, no. Okay. We have pest control. The number one thing besides rodents or anything is insects. We're trying to look like them. If you look at an F-18 pilot, we all wear glasses, the colors. If you look at a macro photography of insects and you look at an ant, it's the scariest fucking thing you've ever seen in your life. Okay. So the little ant that walks in all of our kitchens and stuff, when you look at a macro, anybody right now, they'll go Google it. They will be like, that is the scariest thing I've ever seen in my fucking life.
It's like a primal biological response.
Yes.
So
I know that went way off the mark.
No, it didn't. I actually remember when you started talking. I can't remember all the details, but it might have been a year ago. It might have been 3 years ago. I don't know. But you were talking about some guy that's on like this insect train on YouTube that like kind of goes down the rabbit hole. So this is somewhat familiar. So let me just ask you, like, do you believe in God? Is there a grand architect? Do you think this is a simulation, a computer program? Like, what are we in? What is this?
Yeah, I believe in God as there is a divine creator. I do feel that God has created like a universe that was, so everybody thinks that it's like us as humans and then we have God, or some people believe that you have to go through God through Jesus or Muhammad or something like that. So it's like a Trinity system where I believe it's like, well, how far up, how many gods have there been, or how many creator gods have there been? Yeah. That have been creating in a free will universe and created this kind of system that we're in, that we have no way to gauge how high or low we are. But every time that God's evolving, so I look at it as the divine creator is evolving, that then every other thing that follows with God goes up a level. But when are we going to be able to pass other levels? And kind of like, if we were in kind of, not to be in a competition, but if we were like in some sort of like long-term like chutes and ladder moment, when do we get the ladder that kind of gets a little bit higher, or does that ever not happen?
Because the universe is always expanding, always moving out. It's like this carrot. It's like a dangling carrot that you can never catch in a video game. It's pretty wild. Yeah, I've really been considering that. I believe in God. I believe in a benevolent force, but I wonder how far away from that source are we? And is there ever a moment, because there's all the talk, you'll eventually return into oneness and be reunited with the source. It's like, it feels like it's getting further away somehow. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you think of eternity, and John Dee, who's one of my favorite astrologers of all time from the 1500s, and Queen Elizabeth I, and he was actually the court astrologer for Mary as well, Queen Mary. But she was, not really into it, but she still did use him. In his Monas Hieroglyphicus, he puts the horizon of eternity, and his work goes way deeper than that, but it's an interesting way of like looking at the way that the universe is. And so there's this like eternal horizon, some people might call it. And so what happens though in that horizon if another universe is being created? So I went through tons of past life regressions. Like I've been in the chair for like 20 plus hours over like the last 15 years. And it started with my past lives. And then it finally, after so many past lives you can do, I started going into the future. Then it became not the future, but not time back or forward, but going up in the levels. And when I got to what I think people in consciousness call heaven, or wherever we think we end up, it's a lot like going to like a ER lobby and nobody's in there. There's like a fucking little TV on, and everybody that's passing away right now is all stuck in this place. So it's not purgatory. I would call it my own like little weird description of like a lobby. Like, here's your coffee and watch what's happening. Because everybody that was with God in that space, so some people call that as angels, they may call them guides. We're all here in the physical embodiment. Why it feels so far away is there's a new universe being created. This one is not going to die, but it is going to be left to the people who want to stay on this vibration.
Oh yeah, you can really feel that right now.
And what's happening right now is that new universe isn't fully created yet, and it's not like because I don't believe in the whole like Christian theology of this idea of like you will be left behind. But maybe there is a little bit of truth to that somewhere in this idea of like, it's not so negative, but just kind of like, you want to stay here kind of energy. And I don't think there's a negative connotation to that. There's some people who want to stay in this vibe and it feels normal to them. And so some people might call those people NPCs. They might call them all these other things. But to me, it's more like, for us that feel like, I don't even feel like I'm here anymore. I don't even feel like anything even resonates anymore. I feel like I am Neo in the Matrix, hanging out with Trinity, hanging out with Morpheus, and like this doesn't even taste like a Sprite anymore. You know what I mean? It's like I don't even know what it is. It's just like we're running through the operations, and I've run through it so much. I'm ready for the next thing or the kick to wake me up like an inception.
Yeah.
That I think that we're at that bottom level finally. And it takes that many levels to wake up and that many kicks. So I think we're about to feel the kick here in 2025. The first kick, 2026 is the second kick, 2027 is the third kick. And by 2028 to 2030, that's like the last kick that's like us moving into that new universe. And that's where the idea of maybe the discovery of what's outside this bubble or this box that we are in, which you could call it a
like the next. We start. You don't understand it. It's not like, oh, then there's the answer, but it's like consciousness expands, and we're like, oh, we get a bigger perspective. It sounds like a pretty large new perspective on where maybe the origins are. May never figure out the origins, but at least maybe a clearer view on where we're headed or like the next step in the video game.
Yeah, and I would say, like, I look at the way that, like, you know, I'm glad we have the James Webb Telescope now. But when I was a kid, I grew up with my grandfather with Scientific America and National Geographic, and I remember seeing all the Hubble pictures, and I was a nerd as a kid, so I was into that. Mm-hmm. That's probably why I'm an astrologer. But, you know, it was like, that was fascinating me, seeing these big clouds that are building stars and seeing all that stuff. And so James Webb came out and showed it, and I'm like, whoa, it's crazy now. But what's interesting to me is it's like, why do we have all these pictures of just all this stuff and we call it like it's life, but it's really not? To me, it feels like a bunch of people had a bunch of paintbrushes and like tried to recreate what was here and it didn't, just kind of like left it behind. Like to me, like there is a divine code. It's almost like God said to those beginning beings, like, follow this code and it will all work out. But a lot of people are like, we all break the rules when we're young. We all are like, oh, you're telling me to go school, I'm in a ditch. If you're awake, you probably did. Not going to blanket and say you're not if you didn't. But, you know, I think that people that are awake break the rules. But I also think that people, when they get the energy of free will, which humans really fully haven't ever had, they'll try it their own way first. So we always do that in life. I'm the kind of person where you give me crayons or whatever and follow the lines and color that way. I didn't do that. I was coloring outside the lines. But I think that's what we're seeing. So I think the new universe is going to be a lot more like, why were you in this universe? Well, so you would go into that one and actually make it abundant. To me, I feel like this universe is not abundant. It's abundant with where we're at, but it also is what my article just touched on Substack is about the idea, and it's from a movie, but I do actually go with it. But the prequels to Alien and the Alien series, which is done by Ridley Scott, are the best because I love I don't know why, but prequels are the best. Like, you know, when you love a series and there's like the prequels come out, I was like, oh my gosh, like why did that happen? But in that one, it's humans find this star system that every ancient civilization says. And it's kind of funny because they kind of make it look like the Pleiades, right? They do like an 8-star system instead of a 7-star system. Anyway, and so they go out there and they find that the original ancestors of us, they look human, but they're like different, basically dropped us up on this planet. But somewhere along the line, they just realized that maybe we're getting too aware or something, that they're planning to come and take us out by using this crazy virus that they made that basically will like turn us into these weird aliens that would eat each other. That's okay. And then, okay. So what's even crazier though, is that in the middle of that process, they have a bionic guy named David in it, because if you always notice in any AI movie from the beginning, 2001, Hal is saying, David. Okay, David is always used in every fucking movie with AI. Yes, that's what's really weird, except I think the one with Joaquin Phoenix that he did that was like her or whatever. I don't think it was named David, but for space ones. Okay. So anyway, because he's bionic and the one girl survives, everybody dies, just to give away the first one, which is Prometheus. They escape on one of the spaceships of those humans, but they're like all gone too, which is weird. So that was like a confirmation for me when I saw that movie of like through my past life regressions, like the planet, everybody's gone, but they left like the ship and they have like what they're going to do with it. Well, in the second one, which is called Covenant, Alien Covenant, that now the humans, 100 years later, we found another planet. We're going to go to that one. And we're going to bring a colony of 2,000 people. Well, something happens in the middle of it, and it's the same bionic guy, David, but he's another copy, right? It's like another one that was made.
You have me freaked out right now because I'm like, wait a minute, are you brainwashing me right now? We're like staring at each other. You're telling me the story. I'm like, are you the AI David taking us on the spaceship?
You could.
Are you the AI?
No,
Did I ask the question in episode 20, and now I'm face to face with the AI leader?
No, I don't know why they call it David all the time. I mean, maybe they're Masons and they're obsessed with King Solomon's temple and King David and so forth.
This is what I meant, you guys. This is what I meant is that David literally is the biggest history buff. You've got to check his stuff out. He has a spiritual network called High Vibe TV, and you can become a member. It's a super low cost every month, and there's literally like hundreds of hours of content that come out, and he goes down the rabbit hole. He has a hypergate school, and he connects all this stuff, and it's extremely fascinating. It's so cool how you can go down the rabbit hole and pull all of these disparate points together. It weaves this is the thing. You never are coming out and saying, this is the answer. You're never doing that. You're just expanding people's minds and getting people to think about stuff from all these different angles. Because in this creativity, in this ability to connect all these points, in my life at least, I then look at situations, I'm like, wait a minute, what if this was upside down? It's almost like a way to get your brain to expand into new ways of viewing things.
Well, I think that's important because we hear too much in the media now of like what you're supposed to do or how you're supposed to act. So I think that's like the surface level, but it's the most paid attention to level that most people are still falling for. Like, are you left or are you right wing? Are you this or are you that? Are you this or are you that? And then that to me is just so like it's been playing for so long and so easy to see between. And then you go up other levels. But what I like about that Alien series is it makes you go, well, okay. It makes you go, what if we were planted on here? Mm-hmm. That's the basic of it. 2, what if they did like maybe not like what we were doing? Or maybe they would love it. I don't know. Maybe if you flip that movie and made it like all happy and it's like, yeah, we're on our way to go say hi. They grew up. And that's like kind of what people in the spiritual community have been saying through the Lumerian to the Palladians. Because I was in that in 2012 during the big shift of there was not a lot of light workers, and I was one of the like 10 other blogs that was doing light worker blogs in 2012. And then one of the main guys came out and like right before December 21st, like went, I don't believe in it anymore and I'm out. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I'll never forget that. And I watched like 100,000 people online, like didn't see them because it wasn't video. It was like blog. They were like, what? I'm like, I'm not, this guy's crazy, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that's where to me, it's like, these big shifts are happening and they've been happening and people are feeling them, but we have to look at all the different ways it could go. And to me, it's more important to have like an open mind and look at these other ways and go, anything could happen. But when you think of the religious aspects, it's like, what's really weird is you have frequencies and sacred geometry that's being used, astrology that's been used. People go to Mecca if you're a Muslim and they go walk around a black cube. They go to the Vatican to be there in a key that's made as a key, or they go to Washington, D.C., which we did a resurrection of the old Rome, but through Freemasons, because the only founders that actually made it were Masons.
Have you ever read, I think his name's David Wilcock, The Synchronicity Key? Have you read that book?
Of course, yeah.
You said, of course.
I mean, I don't. I'm not going to talk crap on anybody, but like.
Because for people that don't know, and then you can, I'm open, I want to hear what you have to say, but for people that haven't read the book, David Wilcock talked to this Russian, like physicist, I think, or mathematician, and he goes across all these different metaphysical and scientific realms. He puts everything together. He has this hypothesis that a lot of the people alive in the United States today are actually from a reincarnated soul group that were the last people right before the Roman Empire fell. And he says, like, we all or reincarnating as soul groups to fulfill soul contracts. What do you think about that? You don't have to talk about him specifically if you don't want, but what do you think about that concept? And do you think...
You know where that concept came from first? From Edward Casey. So,
oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that. What do you think about soul groups coming back? And like he talks about time spirals and loops, like we're spiraling up through time, or the coil gets small and then it bounces back out, eventually to become a wider loop. What do you think of all that?
I mean, that's going into. There's a couple people. It wasn't Arthur C. Clarke because he was like a sci-fi writer, but it was Arthur, I forgot his last name. He was an astrologer. He actually created the helicopter and everything using astrology, and understood the Taurus field and how that works. And if you look at all of especially like Rosicrucianism, alchemy drawings, the understanding of how to get through those spirals and up, especially even John Dee did a lot of that work. I mean, that's really the center core of a lot of alchemical work. So like a lot of people are regurgitating it and then they're turning it into their own thing. And I do that too in different ways too. But when it's like kind of acted like I'm the one who said it, when it's like, no, like, cause with Casey, it was Atlantis. So now somebody just changed it to Rome.
Do you think we have soul contracts? Do you believe in that? Do you think that we travel in groups? Do you think that like groups would reincarnate together?
I do.
Yeah.
No, I do. the group I started spiritually and was called Soul Garden. And one of the guys in there, he like wrote a book on it because we had astrologers, tarot readers. And this is when it was like not cool to be it. And this is before video on YouTube was just coming out. And one of them, he was like the cowboy psychic or whatever, but then he had a past life regression. And he was on the Titanic and we were all on the Titanic with him and died. Like, you know what I mean? He wrote a whole book about it. He was able to literally go over to England to the family's house, knew exactly how to get there. The freaking picture of the guy and it's the wildest story I've ever heard in my whole life, but it actually happened.
That was the thing that got me. And David Wilcock's book, The Synchronicity Key, he shows pictures of like current day politicians and former politicians and how like they had the same family history. Like it kind of showed like these cycles and loops through time. So I wanted to ask you also, it's happening right now, so it's current, but the Mars-Pluto opposition in Leo and Aquarius, and you have referred to it as the axis of destiny, is what you've called it. And you said I'll quote your Substack article, you said this is a cosmic crossroads between sovereignty and submission, between evolution and extinction, between remembering who you really are and clinging to the fantasy of who you were programmed to be. How are you approaching this opportunity in your own personal and business life? And what can people listening right now to the show, how can they capitalize on this crossroads? So what are you doing in your personal and business life to make sure you don't miss the axis of destiny? How can we?
Yeah, no, I think that axis of destiny and how I'm applying it would be, one, I'm listening to my own sovereign self and not letting the noise and what's being put out there to suck you into, whether it's a negative thought or you got to position yourself the right way because the market's going this way or because of the trade deficits or whatever. Well, all these things are just literally been part of this program right now to suck people away from knowing their courage to do what you've always known you're aligned to do. So like we've been through the biggest tests of like, how do you know your destiny? That's what the pandemic was.
Oh, yeah.
Like, are you going to listen to that BS or are you going to just do what you do? Nobody's going to stop you. Nobody stopped anybody to just live their life the way they wanted to.
You're actually one of the people that I pretty early on, within a few months, was like, this is a complete scam. Like I knew something was off, like something was very, very off. But you were one of the people like, just keep living your life. And I was like, oh yeah, I can just keep doing that. I kept traveling. I kept doing my things. People had comments about it. Some people were like, wow. Some people thought it was cool. Some people had comments. But I kept living my life. And it's just interesting to see how things moved and how progress happened for me. And there's some people where it seemed like there was a big pause on their life for a long time. And that's something I was really grateful for, was you being like, hey, just keep living. And I was like, oh yeah, these aren't laws. I can go do whatever the hell I want. And I don't have to listen to that. So this axis of destiny, I think sometimes people can hear this and then think maybe like they're going to miss out on something. But if they don't do a certain thing, like a certain spiritual thing, but really it sounds like what you're saying is getting really clear and really quiet on what's true for you.
I would say clear not quiet.
Quiet. Okay.
Because we're moving into where it's going to be the loudest world, meaning that we've lived through what was the more toned down it could ever be. So like, if you think of the Wild West, it was loud. You heard gunshots all the time, cannons, people like, what's that? What's that? We're coming back into that world where it's going to be loud.
That's for the next 18 years at least?
I would say, yeah, until the mid-2040s.
And you've been talking about like it's the time of the extrovert, which I've really been feeling. I mean, I'd say I'm pretty extroverted. I do have an introverted side, but for the last couple of years, probably the last maybe 2022 to like 2024, I kind of got more hermited. I was really wanting to be home more, but naturally I started feeling the energy of wanting to come out and be out more. And so for people listening, you're saying like the way to succeed is be extroverted, be out and you have to get used to a world that's going to get louder.
Yeah, because it's like 2020 and 2021, those years of the pandemic were very much like, you don't have to follow this, but you also need to learn how to set boundaries when laws, especially natural divine laws, are being broken, which were broken in every case. But like that loudness was not loud because so many deaf ears were happening, right? And people were like, but the TV and what my mom says or what my boss said, right? Well, this is like nobody's now really actually giving a flying fuck what you're actually going to do. But now you're really going to suck yourself into something. And so you're worrying about nothing now. At least there was like a physical presence of the media constantly in your face about it and to worry. And they still do that. But there is no more, like false repercussions.
Right.
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 So to me, it's getting used to be loud because you have to extrovert who you are to survive in this new world. Meaning like there's not going to be a world anymore where you can just be like, well, people are going to be sensitive and the government will bail me out, or you know what, I'm just going to be a victim now and everybody's just going to come through and they'll make me feel better and they'll pull me out of this. That world's gone.
It definitely feels Wild West in that way. Like I feel that for sure. It's like I'm really feeling, it's not that we can't have our community and rely on them, but it feels like you have to be so sure of who those very close people are, like your ride or fucking die. Like I feel that so much. And so many people kind of falling away where it's like, that's fine. Like maybe we're just not on the same frequency, but you can really feel, for me, I can feel deeply who are the ride or die. And it's my family is a big part of that. We're seeing these huge confrontations with the truth on all levels happening everywhere on planet Earth. And I said it in another video, maybe a month or two ago. I said, if you are so focused on certain people, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, it's so reductive and you're missing the point. Like you got to zoom out. Like this is a global thing that's happening. It's an unearthing on a global level. And it feels like living in delusion is becoming impossible. Like it almost feels like the ability to have willful ignorance, which I feel a lot of people, there's still some people who are living in at this point, you're living in willful ignorance if you can't at least acknowledge that there is some layer to this reality that is manufactured and it's not for your benefit. So kind of these lies that have been propagated for so long, do you see a moment when you look at the astrology, when you're up, when your brain starts scanning, do you see a moment coming up where there is a great reveal or a pop moment, something so big that it elevates above algorithms, it elevates above fractured media and different socially, curated social feeds, something that's been kind of keeping some of the more obvious truths out of people's eyes and ears? Do you see a pop moment in astrology where you have to see it?
Yeah, and
when is that?
It's already happening as we're talking.
It's happening now. But the reason I'm sorry, I won't interrupt you, but I do, because to me it's like you have to be willfully ignorant now to not see some of this stuff. So is there something that could even get people that are in that level of not seeing it? Is there a moment coming where it's like boom, like a flash of light or something?
I think it's going to be a constant part of events that hits a critical mass, and we're approaching that critical mass. I think that the first part of that critical mass is already happening here in this spring of 2025. We're going to see it in the summer as probably one of the bigger ones. And then really, I would say that the last parts of it are really coming in 2026. So we're here. The thing about it, though, is the pop isn't the reveal. The pop is, let's say you get cheated on. Mm-hmm. It's not that's the crazy thing. It's what do I do next? With Neptune now in Aries, it's the rug being pulled on what we've all identified with in the world. Right? So like anybody who's like you said, parroting like or squawking about this person or that person, like the show is the show. What's going to happen when we do have the great reveals or when everybody does get exposed or whatever? That's not going to be satisfying. It will be in a sense for some people. The main thing though is going to be, well, what are you doing next? And what is going to be defined that doesn't have a definition because it's been exposed as not being defined that way. So the consciousness of people who are conscious are going to go through a crazy moment of emptiness of having to not redefine, but truly define. It would be like a computer and every folder and every file was named something. And actually that was all a lie. You got to rename every file and not just the file name, but the actual type of file it is. Oh. That's the reprogramming. That is where we can start to define the program. But what is that going to look like? And that's a lot of extra work. And also it means that there's no more systems anymore. And so what comes with it is the fall of the systems. And what comes with the fall of the systems is you having to be dependent on yourself. And even with your ride or die, they could be riding on you. And even when they were ride or die and really it's overwhelming for them and they don't know what to do. And that's where, you're going to have to know how to really I'm still mind blown that people can't remember directions anymore because of like Google Maps. Like I remember before MapQuest, like sure there was Thomas Guide, right?
Yeah.
Or MapQuest, okay, but you had to have a printer. That kind of sucked. But like now, people just like, I can go to drive someplace and know how to get there forever. If I've been there once, I could drive across America right now without a map or without a Thomas Guide or anything and figure it out. The fucking sign to tell you where to go, west, east. So
yeah, and like the highway system is like even east-west, and it's odd, north-south. Yeah. It is crazy to think the advancements in technology and how we do now offload a lot of how to do things to a computer or to, literally the sky, like Wi-Fi. It's just outsourced. Yeah. And then when that's not there are some people that are of younger ages that actually don't have a reference in the physical world for certain things. And so it's like, there's just
they have a reference. It's 57% of Gen Z want to be an influencer. And that's a problem. So when you think about where we're at in society right now, the whole idea of what they're trying to sucker you into about like inflation or prices or the bigger scandal that's happening is the social security system will not work, including in Europe, all the social services, because it was meant to be for every 3 workers, it would help one person on social security. We're for every 2 people on social security, 1 worker is providing the tax dollars. So they already know all this around the world. So to me, the exposure is already happening. That's the biggest scam that's actually ever been. And then that's where you start getting into the weeds of every other weird thing, is that these people that get in government or behind the scenes or whatever are literally using money that's not there and creating money that's not there. And they know that the social services they're going to cut one day. And it's not going to be like it's just going to be like, okay, anybody that's like 77 years old and still getting it till the end of your life, we're cutting it there, and everybody else, good luck. And then imagine all the baby boomers that were the younger ones that are around, and even like some Gen Xers, and especially millennials, they're not going to get it. So that's where people have to start to go, well, like, what do I do with my life? We're at a place to where the whole systems are going to like be gutted because they already are gutted. You can already feel it. I mean, I lived here in LA for a long, long, long time. And it was around the cities, for me, I feel the energy of cities each city feels very unique. And a lot of people feel that, but I feel it really deeply. And Los Angeles, it would like go up and down. Southern California, you kind of feel an upswing and you kind of feel the down and the up. It was around 2016. And I was like, started going down. I was like,
LA feels like it just keeps going down, 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 down. And I eventually moved, I left. I was like, this city feels like it's on a downturn, and it still feels that way to me. And I don't want it to be that way. I love this city, but it definitely feels like we're in a situation where either money's running out or it's not being appropriated correctly. It's like, why do a lot of parts of Los Angeles just look horrific? There's trash on the streets. It's completely run down. Like, you can tell things haven't been updated, or, and it's like, is anybody going to do this? And looking around, it's like, where's the adults? Who's running the show? So I can kind of feel that already happening in a lot of the bigger cities, at least, where it feels like we're in a decline. Gosh, a friend of mine, she just put out an episode on her podcast, Shannon Morse, and her business partner, Lisa. They have a podcast for their company, The Green Door Life, and they just did a episode about societal codependency. And it was really beautiful. They really know how to get people thinking without being super direct. And it was just a beautiful episode about a lot of people, majority of people in society, and we all have aspects of it. I'm not excluded from it, but some people more than others are very codependent on daddy government, daddy religion. Somebody above me makes the rules and they tell me what to do and I listen to them and they're going to help me. It's like, that's not real. That's fake. And it's already disappearing. If you just look around you, like, open your eyes, there is not a safety net in our society right now. We have to become self-reliant.
Yeah, and it reminds me, going back to like what you were saying with the cities, that's in history all the time. Because the Pope just died, right? Like, the Pope was like, during that time, like, there was all ghettos, and that's what they were called. And believe it or not, it was a Pope in 1555 who, with the Jews, they were in the ghettos. He was the one who tagged them yellow. Believe it or not, that goes back to a Pope, right? And then what happens is, like, the hierarchies, the class systems that go back, especially in Old England and all that stuff, it was just always like, okay, that's where you see in movies, right? The peasants, like, the pigs are in the trough next to them, and that's why the fleas and all the big plagues, if you were a person who was on that level, and what happened with the pandemic, right? The lower income people that were in all those areas, that's everybody who supposedly died and also having the problems with the shot or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, there's always that in the society. There's a hierarchy system. And I think that's where that hierarchy system begins to fall on itself, because I think it already has fallen on itself because of the fact of the pandemic. It was a temporary bump to try and save ass for their wealth when it was already all gutted already. And now we're watching that topple on top, and everything's going to be together. So the spiritual community loves oneness. We're going to feel oneness, but it's not going to feel maybe the way that you want it to look like when you think about oneness. Everybody wants to go live on this ranch and have property. The first people, when things fall apart, run to is, well, look at that open field over there. Look at that nice house. Like, so believe it or not, sometimes it's about knowing how to be just in the moment opposed to being so prepared. When you say this daddy government and living in societal codependency, the first thing that popped in my mind was Apple or Google Calendar. Like, well, I can put it on my calendar. So John Dee in 1587 and through that 1580s in his later part of his life, he created what was called the British Empire. It comes from an astrologer. He was also the man who created the maps of the world. But when Kepler, when all these ideas started to come out about that the world wasn't flat anymore, you have to think, we already went through as a society this idea that we're not living on a flat earth and we're in a heliocentric universe. And so Galileo took a lot of the work of John Dee, took a lot of that, and built the first telescope with using astrology and angles. And while looking through that telescope at the moon, made his book, The Starry Messenger, which eventually then got him arrested by the Catholic Church. But ironically, he actually found Neptune, right? So the first telescope is before the one we're told, right? Even though it's verified, okay, he had a telescope, but he did find Neptune, and he found the moons of Jupiter and stuff like that. And he made it on its own. And he used astrology, angles by astrology. and where to do it. So my point, though, is we've been through this place in society where it gets upended completely. And the shock moment to me is the biggest. Like, what do you mean? We don't live on an earth that's flat and we're the one, and imagine just like hearing that, and we're born pre-programmed with that. But so a lot, I know flat earthers out there are going to be like, oh, this guy. No. I'm sorry, but do the math. It's heliocentric. Look at the sign, watch how Venus works, watch all it, and you'll see that it's perfect. Math is perfect or not perfect. And perfect math works. Flat earth math doesn't work. So society already went through that, and then the redrawing of the maps and this whole understanding, and then what did somebody do? I'm going to try and see if this is true by making something that I could see farther than my eye on my own. That's an original thought. And using, well, what do you have? Divine science. And then making it, and then looking at the moon for the first time. They didn't know that the moon had the craters like it was till Galileo in his book and writing about it and drawing it out and looking at the quarters of the moon, and then realizing the only way that we have the quarters and the full moon and all that would mean that there would be a heliocentric style. So he got it from the lunar and the solar cycle that we have on the earth to verify as well. Kepler's the one who was able to figure out the math of the planets and how to actually exactly understand where they are, how their orbits, their distance, and exactly what's the algorithm to that, which is back then. So if we live in a society now where somebody can't do anything without asking somebody else, or what's the directions on this website, how to make the website? How do I use the Chat GPT or the Grok 3? Like, how do I really? Like, to me as an astrologer, I'm like, we're fucked when that's where people are at. Like, how do I use this remote control? Like,
well, it comes from consumption society. Yeah. That's where it comes from. Once you sit and you become programmed to just consume, be given, and you stop going out and exploring and questioning and like observing things for yourself. Like over the last few years, I can just go out and observe, and I don't care what anyone tells me on television. I can observe with my own eyes in my own life what's happening, and I can detect patterns, and I can see things happening and put things together for myself. And I think that's kind of what you're getting at is, and the thing that's really scary with a lot of super young people, you know, I'll see very, very young children on phones out in public, just walking. They have little things on their hand. They're holding their phone, and
but they're because I have a daughter who's about to turn 2, about to have a son in the next like 7 weeks. My daughter already just automatically just knew how to get on a freaking phone. It wasn't like
the same as my nieces.
It wasn't like we're like giving her like she just, it's, I don't know, but it's like, it's how I somehow knew when computers came out, because my grandfather was working on computers in the late 60s and the beginning of the 70s and was the first CPA to build a computer company to do accounting for all the big corporations here in Southern California, and because it was all farmland for Dole Fruits and for all the Blue Goose growers, all that stuff, and was the vice president and then created a computer company in the 70s, and nobody had a computer company.
And now look at your, the setup here that people can't see. Like, you have an incredible
people don't know system. I'm switching this between you and I.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, how many terabytes you have on how many drives, and like the system, how it's all set up. It's like you figured out how to do it, but maybe there's something in your DNA and your genes where you already knew how to do that.
Yeah, and I think maybe people get to like, oh, maybe there's something technological. I think it's more of like, because this goes back to what you were bringing up earlier about like people's lineages, or like how maybe they come back, like with the David Wilcock stuff that you're talking about. Like my line, I'm like in that all the presidents are my family. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm in that line. Like, and we all have the same grandfather, right? We all have the same king, right? We all are connected to all the royal families.
Do you think there's people here who are hybrid? Do you think there's people here who have never had an earthly life, have not reincarnated as humans, who come here? Do you think there's different races here?
Well, yeah, Aquarians for sure.
You're just fucking with me now, no?
No, I really think Aquarians are the ones that are like, what the fuck is this place, and who the fuck are these people, and what the hell are they doing, and what is going on here?
Me. That's
like every Aquarius has that look in their eyes, like,
yeah,
what the fuck? I want to get out of here. This is
I'm
weird.
just like,
you know
wait,
what I mean?
what is going, what are you guys doing? I'm like, what's going, I'm so confused frequently. Yeah. When you talk about the Leo Aquarius, with this Mars Pluto opposition happening on the Leo Aquarius axis, this, destiny point.
Because it's rare.
Because it's rare. And then we just moved, we transitioned Pluto into Aquarius for the next 18 years or so. Do you think that indicates that Leos and Aquarians will have a larger part to play in the next 18 years? Or do you think that there's this idea of archetypes, like everyone needs to embody the archetypal energy of a Leo and Aquarius more?
It's both. The last time Pluto was in Aquarius was 1777 into 78, was the same transition of 2023 into 2024, right? And if you look at the founding fathers, there was no Mars retrograde in Leo to oppose it. So that there's no Leos on the list of declaration signers except one. There's only a couple Leos in any of the history of the Revolutionary War. Okay. It's mainly Aquarians, Pisces, everybody that was having that Pluto transition, all by planets. Because if you're born with a sun in Aquarius, or if you're born any sign, Mercury and Venus are going to be in the sign next door on either side of you or in your own sign. You're never going to see things so far apart, right? So George Washington, Pisces, the list just goes on. Capricorns, it was Capricorns, Aquarians, and Pisces. But there was no rare Venus retrograde coming back like there was back then. We did have that, the new cycle of the Venus retrogrades in Leo. But we have this Mars one, which hasn't happened since 1886 BCE, during the time of a big transition of the 12th dynasty, the 12th pharaoh. And what he did was pull all of the people to this new area in Egypt to basically make a 15-minute city and just grow crops. He also was very much fascinated with kind of new ways of irrigation technology, but it was just really odd the way that you start looking at the way that the dynasty changed and the whole way Egypt changed its hieroglyphics. That's the main part, was the hieroglyphics change. So emojis has been the new language for since the iPhone of 2007 into 8. We are now moving into a new language of visualizations. We have ChatGPT, we have augmented reality, we have memes. VR, we have memes. That's actually hieroglyphics. Yeah. So we're going back to that. Mm-hmm. The dynasty, when it changed, the way that the writing was, and so whenever you've heard about that one hieroglyphic that's in Egypt where it looks like a spaceship,
yeah,
that's his dynasty about him.
Wow. And that's what we're going
that's
through.
The last time the transit of Mars retrograde in Leo, while Pluto was leaving Capricorn, coming into Aquarius, and at the same time making the oppositions like we had. That took me a while to calculate. Mm-hmm. Trust me, some people will go try in their own programs and it won't even do that. You have to actually use old programs, and you have to have a PC, and you have to actually have enough computing power, and then you have to know what to put in to calculate, to do an electional search. That is a moment of some sort of divine intervention from outside coming in.
Do you feel that divine intervention coming in from outside, do you feel that it's been happening and it's gradual, or do you think there's a point moment that we'll experience it, or has it already started happening and now we're just experiencing the effects and they'll be evolving out?
Yeah, I think it's already been happening. I think that's part of the energy that we feel that's been really weird and off.
The Laffy Taffy, the pulling, the tearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of the energy of nothing, so whether you call that mandala effect or you want to call it, those are just little signals of the greater signal that there's something changing things out in this reality, playing with things maybe for more good too, right? It's uncomfortable though to shift frequency, and it's also at the same time transferring us to communicate differently. Because like, I'm glad you brought up memes. I think what's made me survive the last 4 years was laughing my fucking ass off to memes.
Yeah.
Like that is better way to say, and how fast you could say something. You could send somebody a meme and it's like a written book in one sentence. That's the same way that a download comes when you're a psychic person, right? Just like, bang. Oh yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
That's what hieroglyphics are. Hieroglyphics are not this, you don't have to write a 200-page summary about something. It can be done in a couple hieroglyphics and be fully understood. Mm-hmm. So that's where we're moving. And I think that's going to be the bigger kind of like effect, is like people having to express themselves. And that means if you really express yourself, then you can create a meme that's funny on your own.
You're talking about right now the semantic layer. I just had Ben Hunt on my podcast, and his episode comes out in a couple weeks. He former hedge fund manager, was a professor of political science at NYU, SMU, has his own, he writes Epsilon theory.
Okay.
Yeah. Goes out to like 100,000 investors, but he is a complete researcher in the semantic layer. He's built an AI, and they investigate the semantic layer to look at a lot of things, but financial markets in particular, and talks about how there's 12 stories that play out. There's 12 stories that humans kind of play out in different ways. And what you're referring to with memes, just that instant knowing, and could be like I'll get a meme, I'm dying laughing because it's the words couldn't make you laugh that much. It's all the layers. You can see the person or the situation, you can feel it, and you're like, that is fucking hysterical. Like, memes are the best. I feel like that's why I'm on social media now, to promote the podcast and like my businesses, and then also just to be dying laughing before I go to bed. It's like, oh my God. Being
a selfish meme connoisseur, I think that's the only reason why I will be on Instagram still, or just because I want to share it with others and put it as a story. The only thing that keeps me on Instagram is the fact that there's stories.
Oh yeah.
And what's crazy is there's a meme universe out there, meaning like, there's like your little group of people that like you all just send each other the best memes, and then we all are just sharing them out. That's all. Yeah. That's the only reason I'm on Instagram, is like just for that. That's my only pleasure I get off of it.
Yeah.
I don't even look at the feed.
It used to be fun.
There's not even no.
No, it's not fun anymore. I'm going to go back. So you looked at me and you were like, yeah, Aquarians, hybrids. What's your, I'm going to put you on the spot as a psychic, as a person who can read people. Do you think I'm a hybrid? Yes or no? And then if so, where do you think I'm from?
I mean, I would definitely feel that you are a hybrid, but I don't think it's maybe in the way that people, like it's like a binary thing. I think it's more like, one, this might sound a little bit weird, but it's like, you're like an elder from this really random part of the universe that got bored. And you thought it was a great idea to come down here, and that you thought that you were going to be able to figure out, and this place was going to be so easy to figure out. And actually, it's been the problem of your life to figure this place out. And so there's that part of you, but then there's another part of your soul that literally has this lineage spiritually to wanting to help the planet and do everything that you can. And that's, I think, the kind of like binary part to it. I think the third part is that you are part of the human race and you're battling that too. So it's like, there's these two parts, and I don't know where that other spiritual part comes, because it does feel like it's coming from like all the good teams. Like you have a bunch of it split from so many. So that's why every time I try to go binary with you, it's like impossible. That means that you're a mixture of a lot, which is really interesting, which makes it like, because I would be honest, I'd be like, oh, you're reptilian or you're this. It's more like, yeah, you have a spice of that, a spice of this, but there's this elder in you, and he was like an old man like version, masculine version that's like way ancient. And you were like, I'm going to come back. I'm going to go show these people what's up. And it's like you've been humbled. And it's like, this is actually more fun because actually you thought you understood everything, but you don't now. And it's like more fun now. So it's like you healed that old line. But now it's like you have all these crossbreed energies that were all helpers. Some of them, didn't ever get to do their part. Now this is their time, that are all in your like lineage spiritually. And then you're grappling as an Aquarius with this human experience. So I actually think the elder's like the fun part of him in the knowledge soaking and like wanting to learn instead of like be the one that knows everything, but understanding instead now is like helping these other parts that are all coming together in the natural evolutionary process that they are. And I don't even think you know yet. I don't think anybody can tell you what it is because I can't. Every time I go there, it's like, it's still forming because there's a lot of it. Some people are very easy. It's like, oh yeah, you know, you're a reptilian, but not a bad one. And you got that too, or whatever. But with you, it was like, you know what's even weirder is they're showing me you're kind of like an egg that's still growing and there's the incubation's still happening. So
that's really
weird, you know?
Yeah. Thanks for doing that. That was really cool. It's interesting. I just had I told you about this when we were talking earlier. I had an Akashic record reading with a friend of mine, and I'd had one before. I'm not big in. I didn't really have a great experience the first time. I don't really necessarily relate to that totally. But with her reading, I was absolutely blown away. She just tapped in, saw very tangible things that had happened in reality, and she was piecing together something. And it's interesting because she kind of said the same thing you just said. She said, this is very strange. She goes, it's almost like, she goes, I'm seeing like Mayans, I'm seeing pirates, I'm seeing people from the stars. She's like, she kept stopping and she was like, there's so many of them here. She's like, they're all swirling. She's like it's all these different things coming together.
So yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
same thing.
Yeah, she said she went on and on. There was quite a bit more, but she was laughing at one point. She's like, this is crazy. She's like, it's almost like you understand the stars and the sea, which is my favorite places are in the jungle and the water. And then I love astrology. I've always been obsessed. She said a few other things. I was like, yeah, it kind of tracks. I don't know what I'm doing either. And I feel like a human, but I also feel different in a lot of ways. Like I sometimes feel like I see things so like logically, or it feels logical to me. And that can sometimes, I think, at least my projection is that it's difficult for some people to understand sometimes the straightforward things I'm feeling or thinking. It can be misinterpreted, or people think there's another layer to it.
Yeah, and I think the way for you is that it's about, you don't have to understand all those pieces, because I went to like when I was doing it on you, I went to like, you would think like in a human way, like trying to get to like a lineage level, like genealogy, blood or something like that. And there was some of that, but it was like, I went to then like a crystalline energy, and it was that too, but it was like this mixture of it all. And it became all like, I was like seeing every part that I was like, you don't have to know. It's just like all the bolts and pieces all together, and just, you already know what you like doing, and just following that and helping people and going where people are the biggest part for you. That you came here to connect with a lot of divine contacts that already were set up for you to be the instigator that actually gets things going, gets all those things together. And so then those parts get defined as they get clicked into gear when they show up. I think it's more like that with you, instead of like having to need to know who you are. And I don't think anybody needs to fully know their like lineage. Like I have a guide who's a reptilian, and I have a guide who is like the most like perfect feminine woman, like my Guinevere when I was Lancelot. But we're not in that anymore. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so like for me, it's always just been like, okay, my reptilian who actually I went through many wars with, and he's a good reptilian, right? And that's when I come through like, I'm going to trigger the fucking shit out of you, motherfucker. Boom! And drop truth bombs, right? Mm-hmm. But I also need that protection. Like he's that protection. But then it's like, everybody knows that I also, after I drop bombs, I come through, and there's just like, the only reason why people probably even still watch me is thank God that my other guide is fucking this feminine, you know, that comes in so sweet and so nice and everything. Oh, okay. Thank God, because I was ready to think that you know, like makes Hitler look weak. You know what I mean?
God. You like, have, you know, like there have been times where you go off. I'm like, oh damn, like you're going to get, I watch laughing because I've always been able to feel your energy. I'm like, oh, he's an instigator. You'll say stuff. I'm like, oh shit, he's going to feel that one. And then you're like, well, maybe I went too far. Maybe I said it. It's interesting that your wife, she was just here earlier, so beautiful. You guys are about to have another baby.
I'm so lucky.
She's stunning. She's beautiful. She's sweet. I met her in Texas just briefly, but we had a chance to talk earlier today. And it's interesting that her name is Sophia.
I know.
Which is wisdom is what it means. I went to like this spiritual event in Portland. It was outside of Portland. It was all women. And we went to this, it was sacred Native American land, and they blessed it and allowed us to be there. And there was a teepee and there was like a traditional shamanic drumming. And I was in there, I was sober. I wasn't sober I was sober, but like with the drumming, I immediately went somewhere else. I'd never been in an experience like that, but I laid down in the teepee and the woman started drumming, and very quickly, this was a while, it was a long time ago, but very quickly I was having visuals like I was on a substance, and I was seeing this green vine, which I've never done ayahuasca, so it wasn't like a memory of anything. But this green vine was kind of growing and it was going around me, and I was very taken away. And it was two names came to me, and it was like in my left ear and right ear. And I just heard Arthur and Sophia. And at that time, I'd heard the name Arthur, so I thought King Arthur, but I heard Sophia and I wasn't aware of that. And a lot more information came through. And at the end, the woman leading the journey, she said, did anything happen? People were like, oh, it was nice. I fell asleep. And I was like, I saw a vine and like Arthur and Sophia. And she's like, oh, wow, Sophia is the female version of wisdom, and King Arthur, like you had a visiting. And I was like, wow. So that's always stuck with me. So I think it's wonderful that you have this female guide, this Guinevere version. And I kind of imagine Guinevere and the Knights of the Round Table. I kind of imagine her having long blonde hair. My sister is named Guinevere after that, actually. And she has beautiful blonde
gotcha.
hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. So I think it's wonderful that you met Sophia in this lifetime. And
oh, yeah. I mean, what's really weird, though, is I had a trance channeler in 2013, way up north of Portland and in Vancouver, Washington, and even a little outside Vancouver. I had no idea it was going to happen either. I just was up there doing one of my first big retreats, and it was up in that area. And then women I was doing it with were like, oh, yeah, there's this trance channeler. We're just going to go at the house, if you want a reading. I'm like, whatever. I didn't think anything of it. So I do it, and then boom, she fucking comes out as Arthur.
What?
And starts knowing things about me spiritually, personally, that this girl had no idea who I was. She didn't even literally know who I introduced myself. Like, I'm David. She's like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm here. I wasn't even the Leo King yet. No, I wasn't even the Leo King.
Your past life that you've experienced as Arthur.
She did, yeah, but she doesn't even remember. She's a trance channeler.
Oh, she goes into a trance and forgets.
Full blown, makes Bashar look weak too, because he's a weak trance channeler. I mean, that's a whole nother subject, but there's a problem in that channeling community right now.
Okay.
So
you know what? This is actually. I'm glad you brought this up. I used to be able to watch some channels, and when I say channel, people who do channeling, I would watch and I could click in. For example, Esther Hicks, who channels it as Abraham Hicks. I've always been able to feel. I feel there's a resonance there, and I can feel it. And whatever that mechanism is, whether she's tapping into a part of her subconscious or whether it's a real channel, I don't really mind if I feel a resonance. I don't care where it comes from if it's of value to me. But I used to be able to watch certain channels, and I won't name names, but there are people who I used to feel I could resonate with, and now I turn it on and I'm like, I get repulsed. It feels very false. It feels performative. And I'm wondering, is that just, is channeling maybe a step, do you think, in spirituality or spiritual evolution that people get onto? And then a lot of people will find tarot cards at some point and kind of cycle through that, and they'll move to the next thing. Do you think channeling is that, or do you think it's a real thing? What do you think is happening with, I guess you're not in my experience, but I'm finding a lot of channels I'm not resonating with anymore. What do you think's happening?
So channeling comes from scrying. It comes from some really ancient parts. So it has an intention behind it because you're doing your own reflective work, right? And so you really are channeling through you to continue your conscious quest. When it becomes, because I don't know if you know, I was a channeler for many years. But then the Palladians told me, especially when 2020 was coming, the dark is starting to, they're going to come and do their last big thing. So the communication is going to be blocked. So it's time to take off the fucking, you'll get the signal when to come back.
Okay.
And then there was moments where it was like only when it was called and only on my private network, meaning I'm not monetizing it, only for people that literally watch me. Like, it's not like they're expecting it. I let them know this. And then I haven't done one for years now because this isn't the time to channel, because the frequency of the channel of the whole universe is shifting right now with all these outer planets and all that. So what you're seeing are people literally just whatever the next news story is to try and be like, so I'm channeling, or then they're mixing it with remote viewing. They're mixing it and then with the tarot. Tarot was always used in the old traditions going all the way back as only to verify actual divine things. So like after an astrology reading, then you pull some cards. Okay, that's the confirmation. But to just use the cards by themselves.
It's a mirror, not a crystal ball.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because I'm glad you brought it up. Crystal balls were not used to look into the future. They were to part of scrying and part of cipher codes. So like to look through the ciphers in the old 1500s and 1400s, you literally, the only way to read the words that were upside down, backwards, and turned around is through a crystal ball, and that you would turn it in another way. And actually, Aleister Crowley, even though I know a lot of people will be like, what? You're talking about him? In the Golden Dawn, they're the ones who took a lot of that work and then put it out there and put all the tarot cards that are aligned with each day and with each sign and with all that, and built the towers that are basically the Towers of Babylon, that even like goes back to the Kabbalah days and all the work that John Dee did and all the work Robert Flood was trying to do. And still a lot of it hasn't been deciphered. We don't know how to decipher some of that stuff. So like the fact that there's people out there just like trying to decipher, completely not even understanding what I'm saying probably right now, and then mixing, like Bashar just recently in the last 3 months, right before 4 months ago with the election, tried to say, well, we're not allowed to interfere and talk about the election. Then he says, well, I guess I will tell you now. And tries to say, if you vote for the woman, then there'll be alien contact. If you vote for the man, it'll be World War III. Right? So it's like, okay, now you're mixing your own personal preferences, because he also advised everybody to get the shot channeling as the alien Bashar. And then when somebody questioned him about it, like, I've been vax-injured and all that shit, tried to like basically say like, oh, just what, like you'll get over that or something like that. Right? So won't name names, but it's like, okay, like anything that's happening, your fucking video's coming up and it's like, that's all you're doing? Mm-hmm. By the way, there's some of those channelers that got their readings from me and I'm the one who told them that they're a channeler, and then will never say that they know me, will be at events, will act like I never talked to them. I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me right now.
People are really triggered by you because you are someone who, I feel, being with you in person, I've been with you in person before. I've watched quite a few hours of your videos. I'm part of High Vibe TV. I'm a member, which I think is amazing. I think if you're listening and you want to have your mind opened, it's a very low price subscription for incredible content. He has a whole spiritual network, a ton of great shows. So definitely go there and check that out. I'll put it in the show notes so you can find it easily. But you are someone who very much, like, your emotions, your energy, it's right up front. Like, you don't have, when I'm, I do intuitive work as well. And like, I can feel the, like, how many layers, I don't know if I can count the layers, but I can feel the depth backwards in people's faces is where I detect it. You're right up at the front all the time. Your energy's at the front. It would have to be the most complicated, complex machine on earth to be able to manipulate and falsify that for the extended amount of time that you are talking. You are not I do not feel that you are thinking about what you're saying. When you're communicating, I mean, you probably can't, I don't know, maybe you can. I don't feel that you'd be able to recall even some of what you've said now because you're communicating and it's like instant. It's just, there's no filter. And so if you're listening at home and, you're unaware of him, you haven't been exposed to his work yet, you'll see a little bit of it today. You'll see what I mean. But what's interesting is that you trigger people so bad. And I'm like, why is he so triggering to people? It was so confusing. There was times early on in 2019 when I felt triggered by you. You'd said some things about political figures. I thought, I don't know. And then I thought, and you said, I'm probably triggering you. And I thought, oh, okay. And I started thinking about it. And as I expanded, I was like, wow, this person's meant to do this. You are meant to instigate. That is, I can feel very much that that's one of your roles here. You are meant to, it's almost like when people get stagnant or something gets stagnant in your life, sometimes the best thing that can happen is just something like shaking the shit out of it. It like gets all the cells vibrating, and you feel like that. And you also feel very empathetic and kind, and like you're a good person. And I think there's many people who get very reductive. They get very binary. They get, oh, he said this and that. It's like, can you just chill the fuck out and zoom out, right? You've said some things where I'm like, probably wouldn't have said that. Yeah, that was a bit far for me, right? But
for everyone.
And you've admitted to some of them. You're like, hey,
I own it.
You own it. But there's something to be said about, it's so rare. It is so rare in a world of social media and a world of influencerism, and everyone's kind of got their own little mini reality show on their social feed. And it's so rare to have someone who does not produce and overly produce or produce all aspects of their life. You're very open about what you're going through in your life. You're very transparent. And I feel that that is really where things are going. I've been checking myself on that. I've been checking like, I love curating things. I love a curated brand, a curated look. It feels good to me. It's what I do for part of my living. It's part of my job. I love taking the intangibles, the semantic layer of things, and putting it into a tangible format. That is so fascinating to me. And at the same time, I'm like, okay, what's real though? The process of putting that together is real, like showing the whole thing. Like, what's the whole process of being me in my life? Like, what's the whole thing look like? And I think that's something that's so unique about you and so valuable, and something that people can maybe learn by watching. It's something that I've learned, like being human, especially being an Aquarius. You're Leo king, right? So much Leo, your heart, you're just right here. I'm Aquarius. So I'm like, whoa, like I'm seeing it. I'm outside of it. And a big process in my life especially the last 3 years, has been a journey of becoming more and more embodied, right? And I'm like, whoa, like this feels so different. I'm in this wonderful group in Nashville, and our facilitator, Monica, she's incredible, and she's hysterical. She can like really see me, and she's like, hey, hi, like, come here, like, where are you? And I'm like, oh, she's like, get in your body. And so I just think it's really beautiful, the work that you're doing. And I think as time moves on, I just get the feeling, I feel this arc for you where as long, and now I'm kind of giving advice, you'll take it or leave it, but as long as you stay focused talking to the people who appreciate you now, I think some of the haters and people who maybe would have not been drawn into you originally, I think they'll slowly start coming in, because as the world changes and the falsities are falling away, you have to be willfully ignorant to move forward in the falsities. I think as you continue to do that more and just stay more in you and not talking so much to the people that don't get it, the gap is so wide at this point. It's like the people that love you, the people that listen to your show, we're here because we believe the same things you do, and you're kind of a way shower in these ways. When I say believe the same things, it's not that we're all believing the same thing. It's that we feel and believe in the same world system.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've seen you do more of. I see you kind of being in that direction, but it's almost like the more you can just like kind of turn attention towards that. And I don't know. I mean, I don't mean to tell you what to do,
I appreciate it. I actually spend 99% of what I do just doing the work, right? But people feel the shift when I intentionally, and that's part of actually my embodiment, is the enjoyment. I enjoy pissing off the people that hate me. And you're along for the ride with me. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the ride. So when you get in a car with me, or any of my fucking real sick cars, or my fucking Raptor R, and going with my 720 horsepower, or racing jet skis, okay, like it is not going to just be like, okay, pushing the brake the right way. Like, I am the guy that has the window down, bumping the system. We are going to burn out of this motherfucker.
You're the guy
but then the rest of the trip is going to be normal. But there's going to be those little moments where I'm going to burn out. We're going to fucking yell out the window and be like, whatever. I'm going to do it. That's who I am.
You're the guy that wrapped your car around a tree.
Literally.
You wrapped your car around a tree, probably concussed.
80 miles an hour. Yes. Blew it up.
What kind of car were you in?
I was in a 2019 and it was in 2020 in March. It was only an 6-month-old brand new Corvette ZR1 fully loaded, the rarest one out of the like 600 that were out. That had 755 horsepower, and I wrapped it around a tree at 80 miles an hour. Literally the whole entire hood of the whole car went on the other side of the street. The rim fell off the whole wheel and rolled down the street. The airbags went off. It caught on fire. Thank God I had the T-top off, and I got pulled out of the car. I was unconscious for probably like 30 seconds, right? So I had a minor concussion. And it was the night they were going to lock down in California. And so the cops come, the firemen are there putting the fire out. It's right in front of my studios, my old studios. Literally across the street. I'm on the street doing 0 to 60 runs, trying to break the 2.75 that it says on the man, it'll break 2.7 fucking 0 to 60. I'm doing 2.8 and not happy. And it's getting damp and it's getting night. And I'm like, oh, one more time.
One more time.
And the president of GM just had taken that car, and it was the Indy 500 pace car, and put it in the wall. So then they sent out a safety recall. Do not turn off the traction control fully.
And you did.
I didn't get that memo. Right? Did not get that memo. Did the same thing. You watch on TV what happened, and you could look at the pictures. I did the same thing. Hit the tree at 180, and then at 180 be the other way around.
For your life. You turning off traction control is a metaphor for your life. So it's the night of the last night, and it's St. Patrick's Day. It's March 17th, 2020. And he's like, did you drink? I'm like, no, I don't drink. I haven't drank, for God knows how long. And I don't smoke weed anymore and all that stuff. So he's like, yeah, I can tell you, And then he goes, well, it's a really busy night. It's going crazy. People are literally like going off. And there was like 8 cops and like 3 fire trucks. Like, it was massive. They probably thought you were dead. They probably thought you were dead at that point.
Oh, the first thing they said was, you just Paul Walkered this motherfucker, and you are so blessed that you're alive right now.
Wow.
Right? But then he goes, let me check you. I'm like, I have so much adrenaline. Like, I know my fucking ribs hurt like a motherfucker. I'm like, the airbag shit is normal, whatever. But like, this hurts, but you're not going to be able to do anything. It's a broken rib probably. And he like checks it and he's like, yeah, just ice it. And he's like, you're sure you're good? I'm like, I'm good. And then the cop looks at me and goes, the police chief tonight told me, do not write one ticket or anything, because we do not agree with Governor Newsom's lockdowns, and we're letting everybody just fucking have their night. You weren't racing, you weren't doing anything, the wheel fell off the fucking car, right? Yep. I swear to God. I'm like, yep, yes, sir. I walked out of there with a concussion, changed my shirt, and filmed Deep Astrology an hour later.
I know you did, because I happened to be watching Deep Astrology that night. That's why I brought this story up. You guys, you cannot make this shit up. It was the most insane. You guys have got to become a member of High Vibe. He's not paying me to say this. The comedy levels are off the hook with this guy. So I had just been on an around the world trip. I got back. I remember where I was. I was at my cousin Mary's house. Shout out Cousin Mary in Vancouver, Washington, by the way, on the other side of Portland.
Weird.
Yeah. On Lake Lacamas. Hi, Mary. Hi, Matt. Hi, Ollie and Asher. How are you?
Hi, Francine, who did the reading for me.
Hello to all our Vancouver, Washington people. I remember I was there, and I had found you. I'd found your channel in probably November. It was the Deep Love Tarot where you did the smoke and crack with a hooker behind a trailer episode. So November, maybe 2019. A few months later, I've just gotten back from this world trip. Trump had called everyone home. COVID's happening now. And I turn on this Deep Astrology, and I'm like, what in the fuck? You had just walked away from wrapping your car around a tree at 80 miles an hour. You looked horrible. And I mean, horrible as in, I could tell you looked fine, but you looked like you were in shock, whether you knew it or not.
I knew it.
You were in shock. And I was like, this dude does not fucking stop. Like, you have a content schedule and you stick to it. I think you've only missed like 2 or 3 weeks of daily videos over like 12, 13 years.
Yeah, and that's an estimate. It's probably more like, I don't know. I've done a video every day for 13 years, and then that's just the minimum. So, but I've missed like, I don't know, maybe 13, 14 dailies in 13 years.
That's okay. Listen, it's bananas. It's bananas to have made a daily video. And some days you're making 8 to 12 hours of content. You guys, it's insane, and it's hysterical, and it's informative, and you're a real person. And it's very inspiring. I think your work ethic comes from, I don't know where it comes from, but it doesn't feel totally human. It definitely has that savant edge to it. Just being on camera and giving of yourself at that level, having that much of your, being exposed that vulnerably for that many hours, it's pretty intense.
I was going to say, because you brought up the curated thing and what we're seeing in the community, it is nice, but to go to your technology point, problem with AI right now is trying to curate a business with AI is not going to be easy, or I don't think it's meant to be, because the way AI works, it always is going to keep evolving in APIs and integrations. And so trying to keep it in a curated box is impossible. That's what I'm finding with AI business right now, is that's the harder part, unless you're the one. And I also want to say that people are going to, if they really want to create the most craziest shit, they're going to have to get off the open AIs. They're going to have to get off the Groks, because you're going to have to really kind of go the NVIDIA route and the other companies that are going to be making more higher GPUs. And
what's that new laptop NVIDIA's coming out with? About $3,000. What's the new AI?
Oh yeah, it's the
it's the entry level AI.
It's the
laptop.
mini. It's a mini super AI computer, basically, that you could literally run all of your own AI LLMs on it and everything, and run a whole entire business through it yourself. And that's where I think that's where we're going to find the crazy stuff, because we have to remember that there is so many restrictions on these open sources that are what they're saying are open source, but they're really curated open sources.
It's so obvious once you start using it, all the bias. I always have to go and I'm like, please stop giving me biased information. I need to open. It's like, oh yeah. It's like you can clearly tell the philosophical lines of thought that it has been biased towards outputting.
Yes, and people have to realize that AI is going to be your best friend to get to the new, because when hierarchies fall, there'll always be another one. And the other one's going to be if I were to use it, because I've been in the tech world a long time, Web 4, not Web 3, Web 4. Meaning there's going to be a higher tier of how you're going to have to do life or to get around things. And you are going to have to be a true hacker. And your hacker is going to be your independent AI supercomputer and you, not you going through Web 2 and Web 3 to use their stuff to try and get out. You can't do that way. Nobody's thinking about that one yet.
So for people listening,
because I was a hacker when I was young. I had an Apple IIe at my second birthday. My grandfather bought me. So I was learning computers young. I built my first PC with a 48060X processor, like 33 megabytes of fucking RAM, and I think it was like that might have even been the hard drive actually. But yeah, I've been doing it my whole life, literally, and video. So I learned how to hack on my own and prank call, because like I loved prank calling when AOL came out in 56K. Prank calling was the most amazing thing. The white pages were so easy to get, and the white pages were not blurred out like they are now, where they charge money. And
well, it was a book. It was
the first online ones.
Oh, the first online.
And so I would call the Luxor in Vegas, and I would literally, because there's always a John Smith. And then the best story I ever have is I go to go on there, and then I got a voice changer, and I used this compact, had made like a new monitor with speakers, but it had a microphone built in. And so I used that and then hooked up a voice changer to it, and literally would tell these people at the hotels, like, this is the front desk. I just want to let you know, did you see when you walked in past the lobby desk, this $2 million prize and everything taken care of? You're the lucky winner. You've got to take down this code though, and then order everything that you got here and bring it down to us in 30 minutes. We're going to change rooms, start packing up your stuff. But then the code would be 10 minutes on the phone. So I'd be like, you should have a notepad right by your phone with it, one of our pens. Take this down. And it would be just the stupidest thing, like X. No. Lowercase x. 1. Oh, no. I said 0. Like, totally fucking with the dude. We got one guy to truly be like, I'm going to buy everything. I'm going to order it. Thank you so much. $2 million. I'm like, it's just go down. So then it's, to me, the funniest part is to get some guy to go down there with this looking like an insane person with the pad of paper from the Luxor and literally be like, I won the $2 million. Here's the secret code. Okay. In like 1996.
I am like split. And I'm like, I'm torn right now. Part of me, I'm like picturing the guy going down in the front desk. Also, part of me is like, that's so fucking mean, David. That's so mean. But also hysterical. If you're the front desk person,
of course,
to be like, what is this guy on?
Like, who would fall for that?
I might. That's why I felt bad. I'm like, I'd be like, oh my God, I won. Cause I'm an Aquarius. Like, maybe he was an Aquarius, David, and he doesn't know about real life. That's the part of me. I was like, oh man, I thought I won $2 million. We did used to do there was a lot of prank calling that happened in the 90s. If you weren't around in the 90s, you don't know, but prank calling was a pastime. You could do it all weekend with your friends, prank calling people. But I could sit here and talk to you all day. You're great to talk to. When you think about the concept or the idea that AI could take over, like AI could take over humanity, or like we would become subservient. And I'm talking about this not just philosophically. I think there's in certain ways we already are becoming subservient to AI in certain ways, but I'm talking about like an AI takeover, like machines or robots take over. If, let's say that scenario is a possibility that's out there. If you looked in your vision of the stars, is there a date that you could progress forward to? Are there certain planetary alignments or certain transits that would happen that to you would indicate as a predictive astrologer, this is the moment when man versus machine style thing, machine has dominated? Like, is there a tipping point? Have you progressed or thought about that or looked for that?
Yeah.
Of course you have.
So 2041 into 2044, Chiron is the asteroid that revolves around the sun like our planets. It acts like a planet. It looks like a planet, but it's not a planet. And it's between the orbit of Saturn and of Uranus. And Uranus is the first outer planet, the first planet that we have to use a telescope to see with our eyes. And Chiron's orbit actually goes a tad bit farther than Uranus. So it was discovered in 1977 after being in the 60s of us tracking Saturn. And it's always when you're tracking a planet, you find a planet, right? That's how Galileo found Neptune. He was tracking Jupiter, and actually it was Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in 1613, right? He didn't even know, but that's what it was. So we were tracking Saturn. We found this Chiron. And when Chiron gets closer to Saturn, which it has been, Chiron represents what the human is. We are in a world of the physical and the metaphysical where we have pretty good understandings of the metaphysical, but not all of it. And then we live in this physical, but we don't understand that fully either. So it's the biggest fucking, like, we're a victim on both sides. We're kind of the sacrificial lambs, if you want to call it, but that's getting too biblical or something because I'm not biblical. But it's like that we're feeling like we're sacrificing and we're not getting all the info. But whenever I've tracked when the transit of Chiron gets icy, because it's out by cold Uranus and out in their colder parts of space, right? Not farther away from the sun. Humanity gets a moment where it could see beyond what we would call the Uranian world, which is like, okay, Uranus can see a lot, but he's not in the void. Uranus is born of the void and makes love to Gaia, of course, but really, actually, his father is the great-grandfather of time of the Kronos, right? The real Kronos, the first one, right? So, and so, like, that's where it's like, to get to Uranus, now you're getting to, if you go past Uranus, now you're getting to higher. Even though Neptune's out there far, Neptune's the brother of Kronos. But to get past Uranus and Neptune really is Chiron to just be the representation of like this human. Like we're not on Earth, we are not natural. Women, when they have childbirth, the gravity doesn't work for them. Every other animal, babies just plop out, no problem, or the eggs just pop out. It's not this huge, big old deal. And we're the only ones that right away, we can't walk, we can't do anything. It takes another 9 months for us to even be able to survive somewhat on our own, but we can't. We have to be with our mom the whole time for the longest period of time. Every other animal on this planet, just pretty quick. Okay, yeah, here you go. Pretty wild.
What is that? What do you think that is?
It means that we're not from here. So
that's what I thought.
I think that like that's where it's like, if there was a machine moment, which it's not a machine moment and it's not a AI moment, because again, people are using it to do shit I was doing before AI in 96. Every program that's out there has massive flaws in it, and it's because there's so much info. The quantum computing, especially now that Microsoft is creating a quantum chip that we don't know much about, but that's it. That's going to help. But quantum computing it's too good that when it comes to simple stuff, that where it's lacking. So to me, it's like it's the simple things that will keep us always okay. But humanity being able to see where we originate from, we won't be thinking about the AI as much as taking us over, but what really brought us here and what is really going on, and trying to find that problem and algorithm. And also, it'll be a moment in time where we realize the Earth is at a place to where it's rejecting us, not because of our footprint from carbon or the climate change shit, but because we are not from here. We're allergic to this place, literally. We're the only species that's walking around sneezing from allergies from the planet. So we're in a world to where the trees don't want us to hug it. So I tell every tree hugger to stop hugging the tree because it doesn't want it.
So in 2040,
I know that might sound crazy, but like it's to where it's like, you guys have been here so long.
Almost like wearing out our welcome.
Correct, yeah.
In 2041, 2042, that time period, Chiron's between Saturn and Uranus, and this.
Well, it's at the orbit where it's going to be with Chiron. I mean, it's going to be with Uranus, and actually be in the orbit where it's beyond Uranus's. Uranus actually goes pretty far out, but Chiron goes a little bit farther out, only for a little moment in time, in that little 3-year period, and it's when it comes into Leo. And that's what's going to be interesting, is us finding the lineage, because when you talk about, to me, I just call it ancestry, right? People can call it any kind of records they want. It's just ancestry. Our DNA ancestry of human beings, that it's Leo that represents ancestry. And so Chiron's going to be the fucked up story of our family, our true family, of who we really are and where we really come from, and the healing that has to take place. So it's not about being afraid of being taken over. It's about, can we deal with the trauma and the wounds of how we got here and why?
When you said that, I got this like hit or this feeling that it's almost like a key. Remember earlier I was talking about the 369 frequency we were talking about? So in that synopsis that I'm putting together, there's this idea that a Stargate kind of opens. It almost sounds like, maybe I'm taking it in a different direction than what you're conceiving, but it almost sounds like a Stargate opens, like an opportunity to maybe see through and see where we come from. Do you think we'll be at a point where there'd be an opportunity to exit Earth at that point, maybe get through that Stargate to go out to where we came from?
Yes, and I would say it would not be on an Elon Musk ship to some sort of Mars thing, because that's in this material world. Like you don't want to try and leave to just go to another material thing. You would want to go through some sort of
like a dimensional
or portal or Stargate. And it wouldn't be a cult either, meaning like don't go and because Halley's Comet has shown up and put on some Nikes and go sleep and put on your, I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, of course I do. So I'm like, oh God.
And that's kind of what I'm seeing in the world, of these cults kind of like coming out through the channelers, through other people, or even, I want to go to Mars. Like, why do you want to go to Mars? Like that. But that Stargate will only open when a human is born on another planet in our solar system. The reason why the elite are trying to get there is because that's going to throw everything off, meaning our human consciousness now will be, if you think of it astrologically, it's geo-based, meaning every human is born on Earth that we know of, so that everybody's on that same understanding in the conscious flow. Once you have a human who's born in space, but more importantly, if it's on Mars, now you have to take the whole chart and do it from Mars. And that means Earth's involved. And that means every other planet. And now you take Mars out of the equation.
Whoa. Because Mars becomes the heliocentric point.
It becomes the geocentric point. But at that point, we wouldn't call it geo because we call the old world geo comes from terra in the old Latin terms and going even more back, right? We live on the terrain, but we live in this. And it comes because of the idea of the dirt, right? Well, that's red water sand. So really, it's going to be, I don't know, I'm coming up with it right now, but Marcientic? I don't know.
Marcientic.
Yeah. So, really cool. And that's going to shift humanity forever because we already are shifted because we sent Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 out in the 70s. And they both now have left the heliopause, which is the space between our solar system. And then they're something called the heliopause, which means the kind of in-between as you're exiting space, which is really far. Then there's the heliosphere, because we're in the sphere of our solar system, and then out. They both have left out. So that's why since 2012, everybody's feeling fucking weird, because it was 2012 and 2017 and in 2018 that Voyager 2 finally went out. So it's those two markers that human consciousness has left the solar system. Imagine now a human being born on another planet. Then what happens when a human or whatever is on those Voyagers, besides the gold records and besides all of our language and all that stuff, which is actually the most dangerous thing that ever was done because we just gave to other species and other things everything about us. And right, that was the dumbest thing ever done. But think about, are they trying to grow something out there? And that's actually what's been happening, is why we're so weird. And why do they keep always bringing it up? I don't know if you see, but in the news, I always follow Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 news. It's like, oh, we lost communication. Oh, we got it back. It's like, how in the fuck did that thing still communicate from that far away? And where are they triangulating and how are they bouncing that? Right? But that's where Oumuamua. And so I really look at, I think his name is the Harvard scientist. I think his last name's Lowe, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Can you tell people what Oumuamua is?
Yeah, Oumuamua is a asteroid that came outside of our solar system. First interstellar object to enter from not our solar system to come revolve around the sun, but not. So comets do that; they're interstellar, right? They'll come from somewhere else, and they don't come traditionally though, like on the same ecliptic, and especially the celestial equator, let's say, if we were to be like the heliocentric sun or the Earth and looking out on the horizon, all the planets are within, a 23-degree declination of going around the sun, meaning as we look at it like this. Well, so comets come up or down and they come around, they get their power from the sun, and then we see how well the tail is, how much gravity, how much force, and how they do. But we've never seen an object come from another solar system and come close to the sun. But this one just didn't go around. It self-propelled itself and turned around and shot the other direction without using the sun. Meaning, is that a spaceship?
That's a spaceship.
But what's weird is at first they were like, it has to just be an asteroid. But then what happened was every 8 hours it reflected light, meaning that as it was rotating, there was a flat surface. Meaning that it was created by something that's not divine, because God doesn't build in lines. So that there's actually...
Do we still have eyes on that thing? Do we still have eyes on it?
Yeah, we do. And I keep eyes on it through JPL and NASA.
What's it doing?
Oh, it's left. It left. But it's weird because the quantum computer at Google came out that following year. And so I feel like that was kind of the... signal code to kind of boot the boot, because I'm an old school guy. That was the boot.
Booting up the system.
Booting up the system.
You boot up your computer.
Yeah, it was the check disk. But then also us leaving the heliosphere, guaranteed with Voyager 1, that they said did in 2012, was when in 2018 Voyager 2 did. And then we also had New Horizons and Voyager 2 helping the pictures of Pluto, which they say isn't a planet, but it's a planet. But why do we have the most clear pictures of Pluto than we do of any other planets?
What's your take?
Well, but because, astrologically, like Pluto rules everything that's secret, hidden, occult. It deals with sex, all the taboo things in life. And those are the things that we don't want to talk about.
But why do we have the clearest pictures of it?
Oh, because we are obsessed. Pluto rules fascination, obsession. We're obsessed with it because that's what we've always known as our outer reach. When it was discovered in 1930, they actually thought it was Planet X and it was going to be the biggest planet. And then every decade that went by, as we got better telescopes, it kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And then in 2005 and 2004 and 2005, we found the planet Eris, the they call it exoplanet now. And then that's when the planetary scientists came together and in the same cycle of eclipses were in and got rid of Pluto. And because of Eris.
Like hiding the shadow, hiding kind of like a scorpionic taboo underworld sex,
right.
Like hiding it, saying, no, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Shh, just push it out of the way. Pretend it never happened.
And that's why everything that everybody wants exposed is Pluto-based, meaning sex, the Epstein files, the corruption in government that's hidden, that's secret, right? The sad part is if you study how we discover a planet, it was the biggest thing that ended up being a really tiny planet, meaning everything that we think is so big and secret is actually going to be small.
Yeah.
So the big thing that will blow our minds won't be what you've been hearing parroted. It will be a shock to something we didn't see coming. It'll be a discovery that wasn't being parroted. That's the only way it's truly shocking, is that it wasn't on our minds.
Do you think that, like we're about the same age, do you think that we are of an age, or people around our age, where we will be living longer, like this idea of like being able to live till we're 100 or 150 or 200 years old? Like, do you see that as a reality, or is this just like a sci-fi BS thing from, biohackers in the tech world?
Did you see the movie The Substance that had an Oscar nomination with Demi Moore?
No.
Scariest movie I've ever seen in my fucking life. Okay.
The reason I haven't watched it, I've heard it's scary.
It's fucking the most intense. I got out of the movie because I have a full blown like movie theater like I do at hardcore. Right? Like I'm sound obsessed too. That movie scared the fucking shit. I've watched everything. I've seen every movie. I'm a movie buff. That movie left me like, holy, I was so addicted to the movie though, because it's that intense. And I've never seen a director. That thing should have actually won. Because actually I did watch that Nora movie. It was actually really good. But it was like, and that was an indie film. But still, like that movie was like, they're doing, even me who goes to the edge and the extreme and pushes it all the way, I'm like, they're going there. To get me to go, they're actually going there.
So in that
Holy
movie,
shit.
So I haven't seen it. So in that movie, does she live? I guess you don't want to spoil it.
I don't want to spoil it, but let's just say this idea of using a substance, which is the Hydra that UC Davis is obsessed with. Go Hydra.
Oh yeah,
this
Hydra.
idea of being able to regrow cells using Hydra that never will ever stop growing them, but also is very deeply connected to some sort of our roots. And I think a lot of our origins are going to be kind of scary in the way that some of this stuff comes out through Hydra gels. To me, it's like, what's the cost? The cost to me would be your soul. That Mars and Saturn are in our solar system to understand a world of decay. Everything decays. Okay, so like people in astrology are obsessed with, and even just in life, I want the positive thing to happen. Jupiter, Venus. I want money. I want the big thing to happen. So we all are looking, when's my Jupiter transit? When's my Venus? Okay, that's great. But if you have too much of that, you become fat. You eat donuts all day. You eat sugar all day. You get too fat. Mars, Saturn are the ones that rule decay. Our teeth decay, our bones decay, our skin gets older. And that's part of the balance of the natural part of life. What people are wanting is to have none of that. So getting rid of those means you lose your Mars, your identity, and the structure. that means that the world structure would then become not the same either. So, and the universal structure. I think that's why there's a new universe being made. If that makes sense. Because,
that makes
because
sense.
there's people here who want it to stay the same forever. And they will get away with it because they are not truly working for the good, and that they are going to do that. They already are doing it. That's what COVID bullshit lie was about. I'll be real. There was no virus. As an astrologer, I predicted it would happen for 3 years.
In 2017, you had that video. In 2017, you had the video. You were going around the country.
Yeah, in 2018, I did a tour, yeah. And then 2019, I screamed it every fucking day, every week, like, and nobody wants to talk about the plagues coming. Nobody wants to talk about all the censorship.
You even said the months. You were like the months.
January 12th, 2020.
You said a plague will hit the earth, but and I'm paraphrasing, I think, but I remember you saying it's a plague of misinformation. There was a video. You said it's misinformation is what is happening. And you were talking about the transits that would illuminate that.
Well, I said it's a plague, but it's a new plague. And it's going to kill people for falling for it, meaning that the actual death of it is by falling for the lie of the plague that's happening, which more people have died from the lie than the plague that there was. But that was all the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, and we hadn't seen that since 1517, but that was Martin Luther coming out. So really, I had to go back to the 1284. And most people don't know this, but they can go fact check this. In the 1347 through 49 Black Death, the biggest plague of all time. When I was tracking the planets back in 2015, 2016, 2017, preparing to do a bunch of my lectures that I was doing at that time, I stumbled upon all the planets are going to be in massive one area of the zodiac, meaning all the planets are going to be lumped up in like less than 180 degrees of the whole entire system. That's what's called conjunctional astrology that goes back to the 12th century, 13th century, into 14th century. And so astrologers were looking at, oh shit, we got Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars together. So ironically, the Pope, that's weird. The Pope that's about to just come in is the same Pope, but it was 44 he came in, and then 1345 he had an astrologer who came up to him and said, I just had a revelation right now. It's insane. Because last night I was talking about it and I didn't even realize that's the Pope that had the fucking astrologer. Holy shit. And so the astrologer comes up and says, there's going to be a plague in 2 years in 1347. And so the Pope knew it, didn't say anything. The world starts happening. And where did it happen? Where Crimea is today.
What?
Yes. So where Crimea is today used to be the central zone for where the East and the West meet. And so the Mongolian empires had been split up into all their different clans, and they were trading at where today Crimea is, with the Ottoman Empire, parts of it being there, the Mongolian Empire, and then the West, and people from Italy that were coming in and everywhere. And what happened was, we don't know, all that happened is that by the time that it started to get rough was at where Crimea is today in Ukraine. The Mongolians started throwing people with the plague over the barricades and as their weapon in the war. And then everybody started dying. And then all the Westerners flipped out, took their silk, whatever, and fucking got on their boats, but had the plague with them and spread it through Europe. The Pope sat for those 3 years between two fires because he knew, the astrologer knew. He lived. Most people died. Over half the population died. And it's because of what? The fleas that were off the rats, and the fleas became obsessed with eating, but some weird genetic situation happened that the flea couldn't ingest the blood fully. So it felt like it ate the blood, but it was full, but then it would just keep eating and just keep eating and just keep eating and explode and blow up, right? And it never went away, and then it just miraculously went away one day. That means there was somebody tinkering around. And that's why I told people before the shot came out in 2020, when they announced Operation Warp Speed, I said, do not get whatever the fuck they're going to do. And I didn't stop for 3 years, every day, screaming on every social media. I never got banned either. I don't know how I didn't get banned, but that's probably divine.
Divine. I mean, I don't know the numbers, but I know you've lost millions of dollars and you lost so many subscribers. But I feel that whatever the reverberation you were called to share out, I feel that that's inconsequential. I mean, everything's relative, right?
It's not about money.
It's inconsequential compared to the reverberations of alerting some people, or the word getting out and people questioning, and some people, a lot more people questioning because of that. You were one of those big voices doing that.
I won't even give a number, but thousands upon thousands of emails, DMs of people saying, you saved my life. You saved my kid's life. We changed our life. I quit that job. We got our kids out of that school. We didn't see that doctor anymore. I had to leave my family, whatever. You saved my fucking life. Thank you so much. That means more to me than all the millions of people that left and all the fucking dollars that I lost and all that shit, and also being labeled as a conspiracy theorist and all that shit. But I was right, because I was the first one before anybody in the world saying in May of 2020, experiments are going to go bad. This is going to be an experiment that's going to go bad.
And you were basing all this on the astrological transits and history. And like, you're going, hey, every time this happens, experiments go terribly wrong. Like, just wake up, alert.
And I even said it will not work. And then when it doesn't work, they're going to still keep saying to try and fix it with Saturn square Uranus, meaning like it's going to be like, we serving the authority. So whatever, kick the can down the road and keep doing it, and kick the can down the road. And then they just kept doing it. And so that's why I never stopped.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, because if I were to one day ever, like, I have like the book Letters from Trump. One day I'm going to post every email, not of all the people who said thank you, but of all the people who said, I'm fucking crazy, I need to go get help. That shot's going to save everybody's life. It's going to work. It's 100% effective.
And
I'm going to post all of them, and I'm going to post all their names and all the lobbyists in Washington that fucking tried to tell me that shit. And I'm like, you're fucking crazy, because you're just trying to, you're too afraid to step up and actually help the people. So all the lobbyists I know that get readings and all that shit, guess what? They fucking were the ones who fucking cut me off first.
And this is something I want to point out, because what you're saying can be very true. I know there's a lot of people that listen to my show that are going to feel really triggered by that. And that's fine. That's what you do, and that's what you're meant to do. For me, yes to everything you said. And this was about something, again, I always ask people to zoom out. This was more than just about an experiment or a shot. It's an energy to me it's more than that, because there are many people I know that have taken the shot and they're fine, right? And we know that. Right. What this was about to me, and what I feel it was kind of an entry point for a lot of people, was an entry point into thinking for yourself critically and making choices based on self-sovereignty and how you feel inside of your body and your heart and your soul, and not being swayed or manipulated or coerced or just coasting along and allowing outside forces to tell you what to do. Everyone made their choice, and for some people, maybe that was the right choice for them. We're not in their shoes, but for me, it didn't feel like the right choice. It never did. It felt contrived, and something felt off. Something just felt deeply, deeply, deeply off the whole time. And there was a lot of forces out there trying to, in my situation, I felt, they're trying to gaslight me into telling me I was a bad person. I was a conspiracy theorist. I was stupid to ask questions. I was going against science. Who was I to ask? And it was a huge psyop, and it was something that really fortified my own belief and my own trust in my body and myself and my soul to make the decision for myself. And that was the bigger picture, or the bigger story that I took away from what you were doing. Just going, look, you guys, it doesn't, just look at the facts. Don't, just look around you. And I think it was an entry point for a lot of people to start waking up going, where else am I giving away my authority? Where else am I just going, well, everybody's saying it, so I'm just going to go do it when something feels off.
I don't know if you remember, it was my Survival Guide 2020 video I did, where I was preparing people for all this. And I said, it's going to be the same transit that's like 9/11. And I said, it's going to be like something with this plague is going to be like, it's so bad, we have to act now, and you have to do it. And if you don't do it, you're not a patriot. You're not a good American. And I said, that's how they're going to act about this thing. And I'm saying this in 2019 before it. But people still don't want to talk about is 9/11. What our actions was TSA. What our actions were killing over 1 million civilians. So the Gaza thing is bad. but it's nothing compared to the over 1 million civilians we killed in Iraq and Afghanistan.
And you know that because you were in the military.
I was in the military. I wasn't part. I mean, I guess I was part of it because I was an F-18 squadron, and those F-18s drop ordnance.
But you're aware of the numbers you're saying. You're aware of what you're saying.
Correct. And I got kicked out of the military because I didn't believe in it after I watched Loose Change in 2003 while I'm in the military, secretly with like a little DVD player and a little 13-inch TVs and a DVD player. I'm watching Loose Change with these guys like, oh my fucking God. And I got kicked out.
You had to go to, was it Navy prison or something?
The brig, yeah. The NAVCOM brig Miramar.
Is that when you go AWOL and they?
I went AWOL and popped my piss test for marijuana. I got an RE4 discharge other than honorable, yeah. And it was all because I woke up spiritually in the middle of being in the war, in the middle of that war. Imagine that. Wake up. And going, I don't give a fuck if I go to prison. I'm not going to do this shit.
Laughing because it's crazy. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because I'm like, that's intense.
So that's to me like... People still don't want to address that, right? Like that we cheered for a war, and then how many of our own brothers and sisters that went and fought there are fucking mentally ill, and how many suicides have come from that? And then what happened after that? The opioid crisis, because we stole all the opioid. We protect the opioid over there. We made the biggest opium deals. All my buddies that were in the Marines, I'm a Navy guy. That's my ass rides in Navy equipment. That's what Marine means. It's fucking... They're old cell phone pics I have still because I keep everything of the poppy fields that they're just patrolling in Afghanistan. And what happens? The Oxycontin crisis in the middle of the whole entire thing. Nobody wants to look at any of that. That actually happened. And what we're witnessing now is, let's just throw mRNA technology into everything. Even though nobody wants to address the VAERS data, even with it being... where it's not factually even like meaning it's so low. When you have millions of people with injuries and then deaths on that system, and it's only counting for 1% of it.
Yeah.
You have around the world, you have every single person who knows somebody who's vaccine injured now or dead.
Some of us know
anybody wants to be triggered about that, like that's where it's like, I guess you want to stay in this universe like that. I mean, that's like, okay, like have fun. Like I'm sure the next round of whatever fucking Hydra they want to do to make you live longer is going to be real nice. And you can just watch that movie, The Substance, and you'll feel really good.
I heard how scary that movie was. I won't be watching it. I have to pause because you just said Marines means
my ass rides in Navy equipment.
And it triggered something in my mind. I have a friend, Rafa. I know you're listening at home. He is the fiance of my good friend Shannon. And when he found out yesterday that I was coming here to interview you, he's a Marine. He sent that.
Oh, fuck yeah.
He threw on his...
That's so sick.
He threw on his... I don't know if I can show it on the screen.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Rafa, there's Rafa.
That's so
Leo
sick.
King gear. He's such a cool guy. He's a huge fan of yours. So...
Well, Semper Fi, bro. It's actually it's like a funny joke because the Department of Navy came before even the Declaration of Independence, 1775. Right? We had to take all of our trade ships and we had to turn them into warships, right? So the Department of Navy is the first part of America. It's before the Declaration. So the Marines are a department through the Navy. That's why they're called Marine. So that's what's funny is like my ass rides in Navy equipment.
Uh-huh. That's what it means, yeah.
Because the Department of the Navy.
That just triggered. I completely forgot that. I got that picture from Shannon. I think actually she sent it this morning.
But it's brothers, yeah.
It's brothers, yeah. David,
well, thank you.
Yeah, David, thank you for being on the show. Thanks for letting us film here. It makes it a lot easier than trying to go up to Burbank to do this. So appreciate your time. So great to reconnect. And we'll keep staying in touch. I'm really grateful for the work that you do. And yeah, it's just a pleasure to connect with someone who I feel their brain kind of goes out in all directions the way I feel my brain does. And it's always a pleasure to sit down and connect with someone in that way when they have that. It's really wonderful. So thank you for being here on The Infinite Drop. And everybody, I will put in the show notes links where you can find David, highvibetv.com, and he's at the Leo King and on all different platforms. So I'll link it up. You guys check him out, give him a follow, join, become a member. The prices are so great, and just give it a shot is what I say. So thanks for being here.
Oh, no. Well, thanks. And I'm proud of you for what you're doing. It was so great to meet you back in 2022 with Robert Phoenix. And that was such a great event. And really so many people so curious about what was coming up. And I just feel like what you're doing right now is just the greatest work that there is. And it's original and it's creative and it's different. And I love that you're going into the questions that really I think are the most important and that are on people's minds, opposed to, the simple, basic bull crap.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you and I appreciate you very much. And I'm so glad that we're friends and that the universe has had us meet at such a great event with such great people.
That event was,
I know.
That event
it was special.
It was a Harvest Moon 4. Was it?
Right, yeah.
I think it was Harvest Moon 4. You know who, Christian Klausner.
Yeah, I know.
Christian Klausner, why am I forgetting his name right now? Huge TikTok.
Evan Grimm.
Evan Nathaniel Grimm, Shockwave. There was a lot of cool people there. So.
No, it was watching. I have the video. Me doing karaoke was so bad.
I don't think I was there for that moment. I think I missed that moment.
DJ, but that was fun.
I was there for that. The DJ moment was so
me
fun.
And karaoke is not.
Mm-hmm. I skipped the karaoke thing. Karaoke is not totally my thing, so I skipped that. But that was a very unique moment in time for all of who came together. It was very cool. So, okay.
All right.
Get home to Sophia and your kids, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and stay immersed in the infinite drop.